All right, what's going on, everybody? Very busy Tuesday. Happy Thursday. What's up, PTL Nation? Thank you so much for being here. Breaking news, Donald Trump has told Vladimir Putin to stop. Yes, that's right, ladies and gentlemen. Very scary stuff. We're going to be talking about that. He just held a press conference and answered some questions about the ordeal, the war that is taking place in Russia, or I should say in Ukraine. So we will be talking about that here in just a little bit. Yes, that's correct. A lot more else to get to, ladies and gentlemen, as well as I button up my shirt, by the way. Yes, that's right, ladies and gentlemen, including some new polls that have come out that are showing Donald Trump has the lowest approval rating in American history 3 months into his presidency. Yes, that's right. We are also going to be talking about that. Pete Buttigieg had something to say about that. We will be getting to that as well. And so a lot of stuff to get to, like I said, including Donald Trump saying he's telling Vladimir Putin to knock it off. Stop it. Knock it off. I'm sure that'll work. I guess that was his grand scheme plan all along. We're also in the YouTube Super Chat where your questions and comments will be read. My website, pushingthelimits.live, the Occupy Democrats Network, the Washington Press Network. We're everywhere. We're on TikTok. We're on Twitch. Of course, my personal YouTube page at PTL Radio Show. And I'm going to make sure that we take the time to answer some phone calls today. We didn't have enough time yesterday, so we will do that. But I did mention over the course of the last few days that Ron DeSantis is in a little bit of trouble, and it appears as though he and his wife, their political career might be ending or put to a halt. And it is a large controversy involving a large sum of money. And I said, what better person to talk about this than my friend Grant Stern, who's out there in Miami, Florida with the Occupy Democrats Network, a great journalist to kind of fill us in on this, and Ronnie D. Mr. Grant Stern. Grant, it is good to see you, my friend. It's been a little while. How are you?
I'm doing good. Thanks for having me back on. It's been too long.
It has been too long. I always appreciate you coming on, Grant. Thanks for being here. I want to ask you about some of this Trump, Zelensky, and Putin stuff in a little bit here, but let's start with this news coming out of Florida. Your governor seems to be in a lot of hot water. He and his wife, who is a
whoa. He's not my governor. He's the governor of Florida. Okay.
That's very fair. I apologize. You're right. I stand corrected, Grant. When I'm wrong, I'm wrong. So this story comes out the other day, and I want you to fill us in to the people on how serious this is. We're talking about somewhere around $10 million, right? That Ron DeSantis said was given as a gift to his wife. And then it turns out there's actual documents to the contrary that show that he's lying. Tell me about this.
Oh, so it's such a comeuppance for Florida's very, very martinet of a governor. He's a real jerk. I mean, let's just be real here. We've seen him do his jerk thing all over the place. And as someone who's covered Ron for a long time, his wife has always been like the power behind the throne. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
She's much more articulate than he is. So it just tells you something, like she's a political wife. She is really the one that's, pulling the strings over there. He's obviously the face man. But yeah, so Ron DeSantis overplayed his hands with the state Republicans for years and years and years. They're fed up with him, and they've been clashing. Last year, he cut, using the governor's veto, he cut budgets all over the state, including from Republican-heavy districts, Republican legislator elected districts. So he sparked a war. And then on top of that, Ron DeSantis went to war with popular opinion. And he won the battle, right? But this is just the next leg of that. And that happened last year during the election when Florida voted on 2 amendments. One which would have legalized recreational cannabis, and the other which would have enshrined abortion rights into the state constitution. And so Ron DeSantis used state money in both of those referendum campaigns. It's totally illegal. I mean, we're talking about pure government propaganda. But, like nothing stops the Republican Party today. They've just decided that ethics, laws, rules, regulations, all of it doesn't matter. It's all about power. If you can spend a dollar, just do it.
And Grant, correct me if I'm wrong, but wasn't DeSantis asked about this literally in the last month, and he lied, right? He said that it was
Right.
a gift, right, Grant?
Well, the thing is, so Medicaid had a settlement with the state. Like Medicaid owed the state of Florida money, and so they chipped off a huge chunk of this to a charity called Hope Florida, which Casey DeSantis was put in charge of. And then, Ron DeSantis himself lied and said that money was not put into these referendum campaigns, when in fact it was. They spent millions of dollars on political electioneering from Medicaid money. I mean, this is the largest public funds scandal since the Mississippi scandal. Okay, I mean, we're talking like, you know what I'm talking about, right? Where the governor and Brett Favre diverted money from the TANF plan,
Brett
which is
Favre
like
denied it. Brett Favre knew
yeah,
exactly what it is. He's a Trump scumbag. We all know that. Brett Favre is a woman abuser. We know that as well. So yeah, I remember that completely. So I guess my question to you now: are there legal ramifications here? This will probably be the end of Ron DeSantis's political career. His wife isn't going to be running. If she does, she'll get destroyed. But
well,
are there? Yeah,
let's talk about this for a second. Ron DeSantis was already a lame duck, but I think it's safe to say that outside of the aftermath of this scandal, his political career is dead.
Yeah.
Dead. Just dead.
Same thing with his wife.
His wife is in a lot of trouble. I think she's in more trouble than he is, because the first lady of Florida has no CRISA or roof or legal protections, right? Whereas the governor can try to hide behind the First Amendment and, say, oh, this is just a mistake. And, there's a lot of bad law that permits bad behavior, but she's essentially a private citizen. So this could be actually become like a criminal entanglement for her.
That was my question, and that was my next question. I think we all agree that this is probably the end of their political careers, but at the same time, what about legal ramifications? Do you alluded to that maybe?
So look, I mean, he could be prosecuted. There's federal prosecutors out there. He's not going to be prosecuted by the attorney general, who's caught up in the same scheme. The state of Florida does not have recall of its statewide elected officials, a huge oversight.
Yep.
And so the only other remedy is impeachment. And now think about this. There's a governor's race coming up in only 18 months from now, about 18 months, 17 months. But still, that doesn't mean they wouldn't impeach him. And that creates another interesting situation. If he and the attorney general, who was his former general counsel that he appointed to chief of staff and then appointed to attorney general, a man named James Uthmeyer, if he and Uthmeyer were both impeached and removed together, Florida has a very interesting line of succession. And I'm going to go through it real briefly. There's 5 people in the official line of succession. So the governor, obviously, is the governor. Behind him is the lieutenant governor. Then you have the attorney general. Then the chief financial officer of Florida, the CFO. And then you have the agriculture commissioner, right? Right now, the 5 people in those roles are obviously Ron DeSantis. The lieutenant governor, he got rid of her by getting her a job at Florida International University as the president. This is something that the state legislature is looking to stop because, DeSantis has been handing out positions at our top universities like sinecures. And, these are unqualified people going in and destroying our state university system, which used to be highly respected. New College being another example. So James Uthmeyer is the third in line. So if he's removed, obviously he's out. The CFO is used to be Jimmy Patronis, but he ran for Matt Gaetz's seat in Congress and just got elected. So he is out. And that leaves the agriculture commissioner, the 5th person, or the 4th person in the line of succession, a man named Wilton Simpson, who happens to be like, pretty much a hero to all of these Republicans who hate Ron DeSantis, former legislator.
There are quite a few.
State.
Yeah.
No. DeSantis, it's not just about the anti-MAGA. He's pissed off the MAGA wing, and he also pissed off like Florida's old boy Republican wing of the party.
With that said, Grant, we agree, on the end of maybe his political career and his wife. which hasn't really even
I
started
mean,
yet.
he may not be impeached and removed,
Yeah,
but he's certainly a lame duck
but his
forever.
absolutely. So we agree there, and his wife's aspirations of one day maybe being the governor.
Dying a
Right.
horrible death.
Exactly. We've talked about possible legal ramifications. Now let's talk about the people that are most happy that are Republicans. I would say number one on that list is J.D. Vance. We all know he's the front runner, probably to run on the right in 2028, at least right now. A lot of things could change from then to now, and we hear these nonsense about Donald Trump running a third term, which I don't think is going to happen, but he probably doesn't want to leave the White House. But I think J.D. Vance is a very happy man after hearing this story.
Yes, but not nearly as happy as Byron Donalds. Byron Donalds
true.
is the happiest man because he is the one who is running, and he's the one who, thought he was going to have to duke it out with Casey DeSantis, and instead is looking at a much more clear path as Trump's appointed one.
Right.
Despite his flop of a town hall in Lee County where he told the audience, "Don't boo." That always works, right? Please clap, don't boo. Florida Republicans are really...
Yeah, he said the former drug dealer said don't boo, and he also lied about Joe Biden when it came to Social Security, and full of lies. He's just not very good at public speaking. He's very good at spinning on Fox News and CNN. But again, the former drug dealer and wire fraud scammer benefited off of Democrat policies that did not put him behind bars, and then he votes against those same policies. He's a two-faced phony. And but then again, who is going to be running against him? Who is
Brian? Look, he wasn't convicted of having sex with underage minor boys.
Yeah, that's true.
He's on brand for the Republican Party.
That's true. That's true. Hey, Grant, before I let you go, and by the way, if you're just joining us, Grant Stern with the Occupy Democrats Network. He's out there in Miami, Florida, talking about Ron DeSantis' political career over, he and his wife. I'm going to be talking about this right after this interview with you, and I'm going to be getting into more detail, but I want to get your thoughts on Donald Trump saying to Vladimir Putin on Truth Social, stop it, cut it out. It's almost like a teenager tickling another teenager. Hey, stop it, cut it out. That's Donald Trump's tone. And then he held a press conference this morning with no plan except stop it, Vladimir. Cut it out. He said this war was going to be over in 24 hours. President Xi won't even take a call from him. And he's, again, blaming Joe Biden and Barack Obama and Pete Buttigieg for all of his problems in the deep state. What do you make of Donald Trump going on Truth Social last night after another strike and more innocent people losing their lives in Ukraine, and Donald Trump saying, hey, Vladdy, cut it out. Stop it.
I just think there's only one thing that really people should take away from this, which is exactly how informal and familiar he is with Vladimir Putin. I mean, we all call him Putin or Vladimir Putin or the Russian president or President Putin or something like that. And he just calls him Vladimir. I mean, the only thing that surprised me is that he didn't say it in his native tongue and say, Vova, what are you doing? That's his nickname in Russian. But it's like, who else does he call by his first name that's a world leader? Only Vladdy Daddy. I mean, this is pathetic. It's exactly what he promised. He said that Vladimir Putin was a genius for invading Ukraine.
He did.
I mean, this is a man whose biases run deeper than the Grand Canyon, and they're not as useful to the American people. I mean, this is like, again, it's cutting the throat of the American consumer for his friends, and there's no plan behind it either. There's no thought behind it because he doesn't care, right? But what happens if Vladimir Putin is allowed to control Ukraine, right?
The world is
the
in trouble.
Price of oil,
Yep.
the price of gas, these things, run through Ukraine to a degree. But even more importantly, cooking oil and wheat, the world market for cooking oil and for wheat runs through Ukraine. In other words, if he's allowed to slowly debilitate the Ukrainian state and take it over one section every 10 years, right? Eventually, and people are like, oh, Putin's not going to live that long, but who knows? They said that about Castro, and Castro lasted forever.
Very true.
The bastards usually do, right?
You're right.
And so it's like, eventually, over time, this is going to hurt American consumers in such a ridiculous way. They don't think about the price of cooking oil and wheat. But if that goes up by 20-30% because Russia has a stranglehold on it and creates a premium, everybody pays. And that's what happened when Joe Biden was in office, when the invasion happened, right?
Mm-hmm.
Prices spiked. I mean, obviously there's some things that can be done to mitigate this, and they're being done right now. And prices did go back down. But giving Vladimir Putin, hard to tell the difference between the two these days.
Just stop.
Giving Vladimir Putin a huge chunk of Ukraine, right, just means that he's going to come back for more later.
Yeah.
Just
stop.
It's an eventuality.
Yeah, just stop it. I mean, that was Donald Trump's grand scheme all along. That's his secret weapon. Hey, Vladdy, just stop it.
Come on,
he's
man.
really, really tough on Russia. Yeah, and by the way,
the whole thing is that Donald Trump's his policy towards Russia and Iran shows the exact same deficiencies that the tariff policies show, which is that it's hugely contradictory and has no actual plan of success that anybody can think about except for being belligerent and using his power.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Think about it. Iran is the #1 weapons supplier of Russia. So you're tough on Iran, but nice to Russia? Mm-hmm. Why?
Yeah,
they're aligned. They're best buddies. You want to start a war with Iran?
Yeah. Well, because
you think peace with Russia is a good idea? Well, wait a second.
He's been Putin's puppet for a long time. We know that, Grant. Listen, I love what you do, man, over at the Occupy Democrats Network. Great Substack. You're a great journalist, and it's always good to get your perspective. Tell your friend Ron DeSantis I said hello, okay?
Okay, I'll tell your friend Ron DeSantis that Brian Shapiro says hello.
Tell him I love those white boots when he's in jail. Make sure to wear them. That's what I'll tell him. Maybe I'll send that message myself. Grant, you are the best, my friend. I love what you guys do over there. Keep up the great work, and we will catch up with you very soon. Okay, my friend?
Thanks for having me on, Brian.
Thanks, Grant. You're the best. Grant Stern, great journalist, by the way, out there in Miami, Florida with the Occupy Democrats Network. Grant's a good dude. He does a really good job. All right. So I want to show you this Truth Social tweet that Donald J. Trump put out, and it is in regards to Vladimir Putin and the strike last night that ended the lives of more innocent Ukrainians and soldiers. So this is the tweet on Truth Social as you see it right now. He says, "I am not happy with the Russian strikes on Kyiv. Not necessary and very bad timing," as if it's ever good timing to end the lives of innocent people. He says, "Vladimir, stop!" Exclamation point. 5,000 soldiers a week are dying. Let's get the peace deal done. Hey, Vladdy, stop. Very strong words there by the President of the United States. And again, that was his secret plan all along, just telling Putin to stop. I'm sure Vladimir Putin will listen. Just stop. Just knock it off, as my producer says. That works, right? It's kind of like you have a young child and they're begging for candy. Stop. Slap on the wrist. Great job, Donnie. So Donald Trump just held a press conference in the last hour. And I want to play you clips of the press conference, some of questions about that very tweet. So a reporter asks Donald Trump, "Why are you not putting more pressure on Russia?" You know, he's not putting any pressure on Russia, obviously, because there was a peace deal that was put in place, and Zelensky last month was going to sign on the dotted line. And then what does Vladimir Putin do? More airstrikes that kill innocent people. So listen to this exchange, which happened within the hour, where a reporter asked him, "Why are you not putting more pressure on Russia?" Listen to this.
Why are you not putting more pressure on Russia? I know a lot of Europeans.
Putting a lot of pressure. You don't know what pressure I'm putting on Russia. They're dealing. You have no idea what pressure I'm putting on Russia. We're putting a lot of pressure.
Can you maybe tell us?
We're putting a lot of pressure on Russia, and Russia knows that, and some people that are close to it know, or he wouldn't be talking right now. The Prime Minister understands that better than anybody. He wouldn't be talking right now. He's talking, and we're putting a lot of pressure. I think he wants to make a deal. We're going to find out very soon, but it takes two to tango, and you have to have Ukraine want to make a deal too, and they're being hit very hard. And I do believe they want to make a deal.
Oh, you do? So, Mr. President, Zelensky was ready to sign on the dotted line for this ceasefire. And then within 24 hours, Putin had these airstrikes and another strike last night. So if you are putting pressure on him, which, by the way, you're not, I don't believe that for a second. But if you were putting pressure on him, it's obviously not working. The art of the deal apparently isn't working because we just had more strikes in Ukraine yesterday. More innocent people have lost their lives. So obviously he's lying. And at a minimum, if he's saying he's putting pressure on Putin, it's clearly not enough because Putin is doing what he's been doing for a very long time now. And that's executing strikes on Ukraine and innocent people losing their lives. So when he says, you don't know what pressure we're putting on Putin. No, we don't. We don't. And certainly it's not working. Whatever pressure you are putting on him, it isn't working. So that's a lie. And you notice how he always says it takes two to tango? What the hell is that supposed to mean? Zelensky was ready to sign on the dotted line. You said this war would be over in 24 hours. You orange orangutan fool you. And then Donald Trump is stand firm to believe that he would be totally okay with Vladimir Putin taking over large chunks of Ukraine. Now, obviously, Zelensky should not agree to that deal. That's absurd. You don't reward an evil dictator from invading another country and giving them land that doesn't belong to them. That's absurd. So Donald Trump was asked by a reporter this morning, do you still agree that Ukraine has to give up some territory? And listen to the pathetic excuse and the pathetic president of the United States that we have in the Oval Office today. Have a listen to this.
You said that the Ukraine have to give some territory to win peace, among them Crimea. Do you stand by that? And I know that the former NATO General Secretary today has told me that he does not agree and he believes in territorial integrity of the Ukraine. How do you deal with that with your allies? And do you stand by that Ukraine have to give?
Former Secretary General happens to be right here, so they can't put words in his mouth. He's been a great general, frankly. It was because that's what you are. Really, you're a general. But he's been a great Secretary General. We had a tremendous relationship, very successful. And I think he could speak for himself. He's right here.
But do you still agree that Ukraine have to give some territory away to win peace?
Well, it depends what territory. They've been fighting. They've lost a lot of territory. And we'll do the best we can. Working with Ukraine, we'll do the best we can. But they lost a lot of territory. When you say Crimea, that was handed over during a president named Barack Hussein Obama. That had nothing to do with me, Crimea. That was 11 years ago with Obama. And they made a decision. There wasn't a bullet fired. There was no fighting. There was no anything. They just handed it over. Now they say, well, can you get it back? I think that's going to be a very difficult thing to do. That was given by Barack Obama when he was president, not by Donald Trump.
There you go. Blaming Barack Obama, blaming Joe Biden, blaming Democrats when you're the idiot that said the war would be over in 24 hours. You're the moron who campaigned on that among all of your other lies. What happened? Now all of a sudden it's so complex. Why won't you criticize Vladimir Putin for anything? All you've said is stop it. You've called Zelensky a dictator. You've said Ukraine started this war, which obviously they didn't. And now all of a sudden you're saying, Putin, stop it, knock it off, as if that would work with an evil dictator in another country who invaded our allies. You orange orangutan fool you. And this is the most important, in my opinion, part of this press conference earlier today. Because I've been saying this time and time again. What's Russia giving up? What concessions is Russia giving up? Vladimir Putin is the one that decided to invade our allies. So what is Russia willing to give up? Donald Trump has asked that question again today. And you want to talk about the most embarrassing and pathetic response on a world stage? Listen to this.
Using a lot of pressure on both. If you think we're just in there because we're nice people, and we are nice people, but we're using a lot of pressure on both.
What concessions, Mr. President, and to your national security team, what concessions has Russia offered up thus far to get to the point where you're closer to peace?
Stopping the war, taking the whole country. Pretty big concession.
So that's the concession. Trump campaigned on ending Russia's war in Ukraine in 24 hours, even before he entered office. Now he is literally publicly begging Vladimir Putin to stop. It's an embarrassment, it's a joke, and he looks weak, as he always does, as he puts on his 8 layers of orange makeup, his girdle, his 4 fake hair transplants, his fake teeth, his fake tan. He is weak. He blames everybody else but himself. He blames Barack Obama. He blames Joe Biden for all of his problems. And he is not doing what he said he was going to do. So much for the art of the deal. It's embarrassing and it's a joke. And it was just a few days ago, once again, where Donald Trump was literally blaming Vladimir Zelensky and Joe Biden. Now, he did it a little bit again today, but listen to what he had to say about this just a few days ago.
Because, as you know, Russia's a lot bigger. It's a bigger military force. And if you're smart, you don't go involved and get involved in wars that you can blame the man that was sitting in this seat. Biden, he didn't know what the hell was going on. But I can guarantee you that, and everybody agrees to it, if I were president, that war would have never taken place. I'm not blaming him. But what I am saying is that I wouldn't say he's done the greatest job. Okay? I'm not a big fan. I really am. I'm not a big fan.
Interesting. So blame the war on Joe Biden and then say, well, I'm not necessarily blaming him. Blame Zelensky. But what about all the things that happened under Donald Trump? We had something called COVID. So imagine if Joe Biden said when he took office, COVID would have never happened under me. It happened under Donald Trump. I mean, in essence, that's what Donald Trump is doing. And he made some more false promises. I remind all of you again, Donald Trump said, quote, on Truth Social, I am not happy with the Russian strikes. He's not happy. That's something you say to your spouse, right? If they come home late for dinner. I'm not happy with you, dear. I had dinner ready for you. I'm not happy with you. You don't say you're not happy with somebody when they end the lives of a bunch of innocent people when you're trying to put a peace deal together with our allies. But he's not happy with Vladdy. He said it wasn't necessary and very bad timing, as if any timing would be good timing for this. And then he calls him Vladimir and he says, stop. Very scary stuff here. And the president of the United States, the orange orangutan himself, the draft dodger, and the woman abuser is embarrassing us on the national stage once again. It's disgusting, it's pathetic, and it's par for the course. And to make matters even worse, Donald Trump in the Oval Office yesterday hosted some wounded warriors, right? Some soldiers who have lost limbs, absolute heroes, people who served this country honorably, whose lives will forever be changed because of very serious injuries that they sustained while serving, something that Donald Trump never did, something that he dodged, by the way. Yes, that's right. Donald Trump dodged the military multiple times because he has always been a coward. He's never been in a fight of his own. He's always had yes men and yes women around him. He said he didn't respect John McCain because he was captured. He called our brave men and women suckers and losers, according to General Kelly. By the way, I'll take General Kelly's word over anything anybody in the MAGA world says. And I want you to listen to what Donald Trump said to a bunch of heroes, soldiers who have lost limbs. And he says, amazing. You got hit. Amazing. Folks, I'm not making this up. This happened yesterday. Have a listen to this.
We all served together.
Wow.
And Jared over there.
So you guys got hit, huh? Pretty good. You got hit.
Pretty good.
Amazing.
We're in a pretty tough area in Canada, in the Arkansas River Valley.
Right, it's tough.
Their unit had a more than 50% Purple Heart rate, sir.
Wow.
In 2010.
You deserve it. You deserve that and more. We appreciate it so much. Great, really brave, brilliant people. Thank you very much. Do you have any questions?
Yeah, that's it. That's it. Really brave. Thank you very much. He's got a bunch of wounded soldiers who almost lost their lives and limbs were taken off. And he calls it amazing. Amazing. Just like the other day when we had a school shooting and he said, these things happen. The man has no empathy. He's an absolute imbecile. If there were people like that, one soldier like that, sitting next to me that lost a limb, I would say, thank you so much for your service. You're a hero. I'm so sorry for the pain that you and your family have had to go through. You will always be in my heart forever. Thank you for allowing me to be on the radio every day. But Donald Trump says, wow, you guys got hit, huh? Pretty good. You got hit. Amazing. Is there anybody that would characterize a bunch of soldiers that lost limbs fighting for us and our freedoms as amazing? But again, this is the same guy who said he didn't respect John McCain because he was captured. And this is the same guy who called people like that suckers and losers. The sucker and losers are the people who voted for this man who still support him. You're the suckers and you're the losers because you're the ones that are losing your health care benefits. You're the ones that are losing your 401ks. You're the ones that are losing your stocks. You're the ones that are losing your jobs. You're the ones that are losing your livelihoods, yet you still support this orange orangutan because you're a bunch of idiots. And then in that same press conference, it was Donald Trump who was asked about a drop in tourism into the United States. Geez, I wonder why. Maybe it has something to do with the tariffs. Maybe it has something to do with deportations, but he's asked about that. A large drop in tourism. Have a listen to this.
There's been a steep drop off in international travel to the United States. It was down 12% last month, down even more from Western Europe. Why do you think that there are fewer people suddenly who want to travel to the United
Well, there
States?
could be a little there's a little nationalism there, I guess, perhaps. It's not a big deal, but
Yeah, there's a little white nationalism in your administration, you orange orangutan fool. Oh, not a big deal. Not a big deal. Mr. President, people are losing their jobs. They're losing their 401ks. They're losing their livelihoods. Oh, not a big deal. Mr. President, these are a bunch of brave soldiers who lost limbs. What would you like to say to them? Oh, you guys got hit, huh? Amazing. Mr. President, there was just a shooting on a Florida campus. Multiple people injured. A few people lost their lives. Oh, well, these things happen. Mr. President, we have COVID spreading across America. What should we do? Well, 15 cases down to zero. It'll be gone by Easter. When are people just going to wake up and smell the roses that this guy is not only an idiot, but he's also extremely dangerous and he's ruining this country and it's going to take decades to recover from the damage that this guy is doing on a daily basis? When are people going to wake up? Well, I'm so glad you asked. Some people are waking up. And there are new poll numbers that have just come out, one by Fox News, by the way, that is showing the president's approval rating 3 months into his presidency are the worst in modern-day American history. Yes, that's right, ladies and gentlemen. Now, I'm going to play you a clip on how Fox News and Bret Baier spoke to this. But Donald Trump's approval rating, according to this poll and multiple other polls, are under 45% 3 months in. And when you look at Joe Biden 3 months in, he was in the mid-50s, 55% if I recall. I believe Barack Obama and George W. Bush were around 62, 63%. And this is a Fox News poll. And now Donald Trump is going after the pollster, right? Of course, the pollster's here. This is the way Bret Baier and Fox News had to report these numbers, some of the worst approval ratings that any president has ever had in the history of this country 3 months in. Have a listen to the way Bret Baier handled this.
President talking tariffs and the economy. If you look at our new Fox News poll at 100 days job approval compared to other presidents, there you see the president at 44%. And you see his first term at 45% at this mark, the 100-day mark. We have other new polls that are revealing some concerns about the economy. Let's talk about that.
Yeah, I bet you do have some polls that are revealing in some aspects of the economy. You doofus. Screw you, Bret Baier and Fox Noise and their $900 million settlement with Dominion. By the way, Newsmax is going through a similar settlement. They're not newsmakers here. They're noisemakers, and it's Fox Noise. And it's misinformation, but they're forced to report on this poll that is very damning to Donald Trump. So what does Donald Trump do? He takes to Truth Social and he goes after the pollster. Fake news, right? There's a reason why these are some of the worst numbers 3 months into any administration as far as approval ratings. And the reason is the economy. These tariffs have been an absolute disaster. They will continue to be a disaster. And the president of China doesn't even want to talk to Donald Trump. The war in the Ukraine, no more false promises from the president. He said it would be over in 24 hours. The Israel-Palestinian conflict is certainly worse off now than it was on day one. You look at inflation. Egg prices are not down. They might be down in the last several weeks. They're not down since day one when Donald Trump took office. That's a lie. He said the other day that they were down 95%. That's an utter lie. They might be down from a few weeks ago. They're not down from day one. Gas prices are not down. Inflation is up. Gas prices are up. Egg prices are up since Donald Trump took office. Period. And that's not George Soros' fault. That's not Democrats' fault. That's not Joe Biden's fault. No, it's one man. And that's the commander-in-chief, Donald J. Trump, who made promises to the suckers in this country that he would do this. He would help you with your 401ks. He would lower your taxes, right? He'd lower the price of eggs. How's that working out? And then you have Elon Musk, who's backing down, claiming that he saved us $1 billion, and then the White House says he saved us 140, right? Billions of dollars Elon Musk has saved us. $1 trillion, maybe, right? And then the White House says, well, no, it's 140. And it's not even close to that number. And it's not even a sliver of a fraction in the debt that we are in right now. Not even a sliver. So what does Elon Musk do when he fails? He just is a coward. And he steps aside, just like he does with all of his kids, planting his seed everywhere. He steps aside as a failure. He is a failure. I don't care if he's the richest man in the world. I don't care how much money somebody is worth. In life, Elon Musk is a failure. He's a failure to his kids. He's a failure to the women in his life. He's a failure to his family. If you don't believe me, ask his trans daughter. He's a failure, and he's a scumbag. And the way he's treated women his entire life, very similar to the way Donald Trump has treated women. They're both abusers. And then there's somebody by the name of Pete Buttigieg, somebody that I have a tremendous amount of respect for. I've always liked Pete Buttigieg. I've always had a lot of respect for Pete Buttigieg. He's a very intelligent man. He's a very capable man. Now, of course, if you're on the far right, it's very difficult for them to support somebody that's gay or support somebody, God forbid, that's adopted somebody black, because we all know the MAGA Republicans out there hate that. But I don't think anybody could have said it best yesterday than Pete Buttigieg. This is the platform of the Democrat Party. This would be the platform of a Pete Buttigieg if he ever runs for president. And this is the fundamental difference between Democrats and Republicans, particularly MAGA Republicans today. Listen to the way Pete Buttigieg said it himself on what he wants America to look like, unlike a Donald Trump. Have a listen to this.
Like, I want you to be able to get up in the morning, and the first thing you do is you commute to work, and by the way, if you're on EV, I want that to be affordable for you, or if you're on public transit, not to get back into the subway situation, but I want you to have good public transit to get to where you're going. And then when you get to that job, I want you to be paid well. And if you're about to have a kid, I want you to know that you're going to have parental leave when you have that kid. And if you don't want to have a kid, I want you to have the right to choose whatever kid, which means access to birth control and abortion and those things that give you the freedom to decide on that. And if you already have a kid, when you pick them up at school, I want that school to be good, not having its funding slashed while they set fire to the Department of Education. And then when you get home, I want you to be in a neighborhood that is safe and where you can breathe the air, because we didn't let them get rid of the Clean Air Act. And you don't have to think for one moment about whether the air you breathe or the water you drink is clean and clear, which actually takes a lot, because it means the government has to constrain those actors that would make you unfree by polluting the air and polluting the water. And then when you go to bed, I want you to know that your family's going to be fine, even if it's family like mine, despite there being some Supreme Court justice who wants to obliterate your family because it doesn't match his interpretation of his religion. Like, that's the life I want everybody to be able to live.
Yeah, I think we can deliver that.
I think Pete Buttigieg could deliver that. Let me be very clear. Pete Buttigieg is an extremely intelligent man. He's very educated and he's compassionate. And sadly, as I was driving into work today, after I made a very special phone call, well, it was actually a message, but that's for another show, I put on the radio and I listened to some right-wing clowns. I don't even remember the show. I try not to listen to right-wing echo chamber radio because they're so pathetic. And they called him Pete Booty Juice. Booty Juice. Now, why would they call him that? Well, I would think some of it is homophobia. And they're very immature. And they can't attack him on his intelligence because he's a very intelligent man. They can't attack him on his record. He did a good job in the Biden administration. And they can't attack him as the human being that he is. So what do? They come up with a nickname for him, just like Donald Trump would, that a 12-year-old would come up with. And these are the same people that did not vote for Kamala Harris. Many people did not vote for Kamala Harris, not because she's not intelligent, not because she's not educated or has experience, because she's a woman, maybe even a woman of color. There are people in this country that would not vote for Pete Buttigieg because he's gay. That's how sick people are in this country. They care more about one's sexuality or the color of their skin or where they're from than policy. That's how we got the orange orangutan in office. He's sort of white. And it's make America white again. And when you get somebody like this in office and you put people around him like the Pete Hegseths and the Robert F. Kennedy Jr.'s, this is what we have, ladies and gentlemen. The Dow, getting pummeled, the stock market going down the drain. You're losing your 401ks. You're losing your jobs. Inflation going in the wrong direction. Gas prices going in the wrong direction. The war in Ukraine is worse off now than it was when Trump took office. The Israel-Palestinian conflict, worse off now than when he took office. By all parameters, things are going down the toilet in this country. And meanwhile, Many people that voted for him are still content with that because he's a middle-aged white man. Welcome to the MAGA Republican Party, ladies and gentlemen. Pete Buttigieg would have my vote in a heartbeat. But sadly, there's a lot of people on the MAGA right that would not vote for him because he's gay, or because she's a woman, or because that person is a person of color, or because they have a D next to their name, so they would rather vote for somebody that's a liable abuser and a 34-count felon. And it's interesting. Speaking of felons, in Donald Trump, there are two pictures that are put together here. The man from Maryland, Mr. Garcia, who was sent to an El Salvador prison, and one of the highest maximum security prisons in the world, who's never been charged or convicted on any violent crimes. He has no criminal record. And then there's Donald Trump talking about him. What's wrong with this picture? Well, I'll tell you what. We have Donald Trump on the right. We have this man, Mr. Garcia, on the left, who's in one of the highest maximum security prisons. But here's a big difference. One is a convicted felon, and one is not. Mr. Garcia is not a convicted felon. He did not have due process. Donald Trump is a 34-count convicted felon who actually did get due process. I want you all to think about that for a moment. So here's what we're going to do. I promised all of you that we would take more phone calls today. I went long in my interview yesterday with Pam Hemphill and Enrique Tarrio. It was a pretty interesting and riveting interview. If you missed it, it's on my YouTube page at PTL Radio Show. But I want to hear from you when we come back. There's a lot to talk about with all of you great listeners today. So what are we talking about? Well, if you missed it, Donald J. Trump, a very scary message to Vladimir Putin. Boy, it really got my boots shaking. Those Ron DeSantis white boots, they really got me shaking. He called him Vladimir, and he said, stop. Stop. Don't get me wrong. I'm sure an evil dictator in another country will stop what they're doing, stop right in their tracks, because Donald Trump, the orange orangutan draft dodger and felon, told them to stop. I'm sure that'll happen. I'm sure he told Melania Trump to stop when she said she ain't living with him in the White House. I'm sure that worked as well. So we are talking about that. And what do you think about these new poll numbers? One by Fox News, the lowest approval ratings of any president in modern American history. Right now, 3 months into the presidency, he's at 44%. That's right, ladies and gentlemen, 44%. Is this still a mandate? I'm sorry, I just wanted to ask that. The number to call is 702-221-7283. Again, that number is 702-221-7283. That's the number to call if you want to be a part of the program. We will also go back into the YouTube Super Chat when we come back, and it's time to hear from you. MAGA callers are always welcome. 702-221-7283. Are you happy with Donald Trump? Do you think he's tough on Russia? By the way, he was asked, what concessions are Russia giving up? Ending the war. That's the concession. Well, why didn't Vladimir Putin sign on the dotted line for a cease deal? I would ask him that as a follow-up. Again, 702-221-7283 is the number to call. We are going to take a quick break, and we will be back with your phone calls in 90 seconds. You're not going to want to miss it. Stick around. You're listening to Pushing the Limits right here on KSHP.
Hey, everybody. Are you struggling to find a pizza place that reminds you of Brooklyn? That true blue New York style pie? Well, worry no more. Stallone's Italian Eatery Pizza is a knockout. We're located at 467 East Silverado Ranch Boulevard, just off of Premium Road, half a mile east of South Point Casino, just minutes from the Las Vegas Strip. Come by and grab a slice of pie. Plus, check out our Brooklyn-inspired Italian cuisine. Our sandwiches are super. Hero, that is. Because why be a sub when you can be a hero? Stallone's Italian Eatery is here to serve you phenomenal food, Vegas. Forget about it.
Who would have thought there'd be so many kids playing ice hockey in the desert? Jake Helps Hockey Foundation and the Las Vegas Ice Warriors, founded by Gina Yousafzai 8 years ago, made it possible for families who can't afford the equipment and food. Donate today at www.hockeyforkids.org and help us continue making a difference. Join us in supporting Jake Helps Hockey Foundation and the Las Vegas Ice Warriors, where every kid gets a shot at the starting line. Just a reminder, our website is www.hockeyforkids.org.
Have you ever dreamed of having your own radio show or a podcast, but just didn't think it was possible? Well, dreams can come true. Radio U. Radio U is a 5-day course that'll teach you how to acquire your dream show. We'll teach you how to host, how to write commercials, how to interview, how to market, how to write a contract, and most importantly, how to monetize your dream radio show. You'll learn from some of the best in the business with over 75 years in broadcast experience. You'll learn from people like me. And the best part? Every single student will be live on the radio as part of the class. Plus, one student from each class will get their very own radio show. You'll be live on the air right here in Las Vegas. Radio U. The 5-day course is being offered at $699. For more information, give Radio U a call. 702-763-5024. That's 702-763-5024. Or check them out at radioyou101.com.
All right, welcome back. It is Pushing the Limits on a very busy news day Thursday. Donald Trump holding a press conference. And he told Vladimir Putin on Truth Social to stop it, cut it out. Stop it. Stop tickling me. Cut it out. Stop. We're talking about that. Some of the worst poll numbers in American history, presidential history. 44% approval rating, 3 months, only 3 months into his presidency. Where will that approval rating be in 6 months from now? Who knows? I want to thank our friends at Jackson's Bar and Grill, located at Flamingo and Jones, home of the $20 ribeye steak. They haven't changed that price in 8 years. And yes, they're giving you a 10% tariff refund. How does it work? If you win a taxable jackpot, whatever that taxable is, you're going to get 10% of that win, and you get it back in free slot play. Check it out, Jackson's Bar and Grill, located at Flamingo and Jones. I promised you guys we would get to the phone calls now and take a little bit more time. But before we do that, the YouTube Super Chat. Hreniga, greetings from Bulgaria. Wow, thank you, Hreniga. I hope I'm pronouncing your name right, from Bulgaria. We appreciate your donation. Thank you very much for that. On also going back to the YouTube Super Chat, we have some more to read here. Kathy, a very generous donation. Kathy said, I don't blame DeSantis will suffer any consequences and this Medicare scam issues because Florida Senator Rick Scott has his own Medicare fraud scandal back in 97. Yes, he did. Republicans don't care about scandals. Well, you're right about that, because if they did, they wouldn't have supported Donald Trump. All right, why don't we get right to the phone calls? 702-221-7283 is the number to call. Right now, the lines are busy. We'll get to as many as we can. Let's start off with Cyrus. Cyrus is first up on Pushing the Limits. Hi, Cyrus. Where are you calling from?
Hey, calling from Las Vegas, actually. So I wanted to talk about Bill Maher, if it's okay, because you did a segment about him a week ago and how it relates to the poll numbers.
How it relates to what? Your phone went out. Did I say that it related to the poll numbers? I don't remember saying that.
No. Well, you talked about Trump's numbers, and the thing is that
why would his poll numbers? Well, help me out. Help me understand. Why would his poll numbers have anything to do with Bill Maher?
Well, no, it's just you did a segment about Bill Maher about about the issues he's done, but I think he has a point about the Electoral College. He did a segment about how states like California are losing Electoral College votes, which is going to deter the Democrats from winning in 2032 and beyond.
Mm-hmm.
He does have a point because these blue states make it very difficult to build homes, and that's what he talked about in one of his shows. And what this does is it raises prices. It encourages people not to vote for Democrats. And I can tell you, as a drafter, as somebody who's worked in the architectural field, try to get permits, it's very difficult to build homes in California.
Okay, if you don't mind me asking, my friend, who did you vote for in November? Your phone's cutting out a little bit, my friend.
I will just say third party. That's what I'll just say.
Okay, so you didn't vote for Donald Trump, but you also didn't vote for Kamala Harris. Is that fair? That's fair?
Well, like I said, Kamala Harris is from California. I've lived there since I was 24.
No, I understand that.
I think I've been through a lot of. Yeah,
I understand. I just, with respect for time constraints, I didn't really ask, where you're from or where you live. I just wanted to know who you voted for. You didn't vote for Kamala Harris, and you're talking to me, and that's fine. You told me about how blue states are making it difficult for people to buy homes. Do you think Donald Trump is making it Hold on a second. Hold on a second.
Build homes.
Okay, build homes. Okay. Do you think Donald Trump is making
Mm-hmm.
it difficult for people to build homes with these 10% tariffs around the world? Do you think Donald Trump is making it difficult for people to build homes when it comes to what's going on to their 401ks, that blasting and getting rid of the Department of Education? Do you think Donald Trump is making it difficult for
I
people?
think it does have an impact.
Okay, you do.
Yeah.
I think it might have a little bit more impact than what you're speaking to when it comes to Democrats. Oh, yeah, by the way, if you care about building homes, wouldn't you have wanted Kamala Harris to be in office, the person who wanted to put a $25,000 down payment on a home to people that are struggling, living paycheck to paycheck? Listen, I'm okay with yeah. It sounds like he's on an Obama phone. My friend, I would like you to call back with a better connection. That's the only reason why I'm hanging up on you. I wanted to hear you out on that. I just think it's a little strange, quite frankly, sir, for you to say, and you're concerned about Democrats in blue states making it harder for people to build homes when Donald Trump is making it harder for people to work. Donald Trump is making it harder for people to go to the hospital and have health insurance. Donald Trump is making it harder for women to do what they want with their own bodies. But you call into this show and your criticism is, well, in those blue states, it makes it harder for people to build homes. You didn't vote for Kamala Harris, so I don't want to hear you complain about, oh, well, it's making it harder for people to build homes. Donald Trump is making it harder for everybody in this country except for the top 1%. Why wouldn't you vote for Kamala Harris? Holy bejesus. Praise the Lord. 702-221-7283 is the number to call. Let's go to Randy. I believe Randy is next on PTL. Hey, Randy, what's going on?
Yeah, I just wanted to call. Thank you for taking my call.
Sure.
And I just wanted to, I hear you talk a lot about Putin and the United States.
Mm-hmm.
And I just want to say how Putin, at least he stands up to the United States and doesn't take he's 10,000 times smarter than any politicians we ever had. But at least he doesn't let them push him around.
Well, can I ask you about that?
opinion.
You think Vladimir Putin is
Sure.
smart? You think Vladimir Putin is smarter than like Barack Obama?
Oh, yeah, 10 times.
Vladimir Putin is 10 times smarter than Barack Obama. Tell me why, sir. Why do you feel that way?
I just feel he has a lot of knowledge history-wise, and he's been around a while. And
what would lead you to believe that he has a lot of knowledge history-wise? Because he's taking a playbook from Mustache Man? What would make you think that?
No, just because, it's history and he's
Well, give me an example. What has he done that would lead you to believe he has a great sense of history? I mean, all I know is that he's an evil
he
dictator.
just knows when he talks, when I watched him talk, like on YouTube or something.
Uh-huh.
He's knowledgeable.
So when
about
Barack
the
Obama
subject.
talks, he doesn't sound knowledgeable?
He doesn't know much about foreign stuff like Putin does.
And what would lead you to believe that Barack Obama doesn't, quote, know stuff about foreign stuff? What would lead you to believe that?
Well, I'm saying he doesn't know when it comes to like Ukraine or Russia part of the country.
So you care about people that care.
Putin knows a lot more.
So would you vote for Vladimir Putin over somebody like Barack Obama? Let's just say Putin was running for president of the United States of America. If you had a choice between voting for Vladimir Putin or Barack Obama, sir, who do you think you would vote for?
Oh, I don't know.
You don't know. You can't. So you can't answer that question. So if Barack Obama, a Harvard Rhodes Scholar, by the way, ran for president of the United States, who's never broken a law in his life, never been convicted of a crime, and if he was running for president against a guy like Vladimir Putin, who invades countries and is responsible for the deaths of hundreds of thousands of people, and you're telling me if an evil dictator was running against Barack Obama, you don't know who you would vote for. Do I have that correct, sir?
So I don't really understand how you're saying he's an evil dictator.
Okay, let me help you. Let me help you understand, sir, because I think you're struggling a little bit. And the fact you can't even answer that question leads me to believe either one of two things or both. Either you're extremely ignorant or you're a racist, or maybe both. They do go hand in hand. But I'm still going to be patient with you, sir, and I'm going to try to collect myself because I cannot believe what I just heard. Why do I say Putin is responsible? I can go by what he just did yesterday. They struck Ukraine yesterday. Innocent women and children lost their lives because Putin executed what he wanted to do. They've also attacked religious sanctuaries in Ukraine, ending the lives of many of innocent people. Thousands and thousands and thousands of innocent people have lost their lives, including Russian soldiers and people in Russia as well. because Putin decided to invade our allies because he wants their land. Why is it so hard for somebody like you to understand something that is so very basic, sir? What did I say that was not factually accurate, sir, in that statement? Go ahead.
Yeah, because the United States has 10,000 times more blood on their hands.
I didn't ask you about the United States. Let's focus on Vladimir Putin, because you said if Putin ran against Obama, you don't know who you would vote for, which is, by the way, absurd. You just asked me to give you an example of why he's a dictator who's responsible for loss of life. I gave you an example of what took place yesterday. There's a ceasefire deal on the table that Zelensky was ready to sign, and Putin did an airstrike hours later, and he attacked them again yesterday. Innocent lives lost. That question has nothing to do with the United States. What part of that do you not understand, or what part of that do you think is not correct? Go ahead, sir.
Okay, I don't believe any of that unless I was there.
All right, well, then you're a fool. Then you're a fool. You don't believe. Okay, so we weren't there during the Civil War. So does that mean you don't believe that the Civil War happened, sir? Sir, I'm asking you a question. World War I. You weren't alive during World War I. Neither was I. Did World War I not happen, sir, because you weren't there, going by your idiotic logic? Did World War I, did 9/11 not happen? Hey, guess what? I wasn't in New York. I wasn't in the Twin Towers during 9/11. Sir, does that mean 9/11 didn't happen too? Going by your logic, it didn't happen because you weren't there. Did 9/11 happen, sir? Answer the question.
Yeah,
it did happen. Whoa. You're saying 9/11 happened, but hold on, you weren't there, sir. Did World War I happen? Did World War I happen, sir? You weren't there. Why don't you answer my question, you dope? Did World War I happen? Yes or no?
Who I vote for?
Get out of here, you fool. You're an idiot. Can you believe how stupid people are? I just asked this guy if Vladimir Putin was running for office in the United States versus Barack Obama, he doesn't know who he would vote for. And then we wonder how we get this orange orangutan in office. Well, let me tell you, because of fools like that, because of imbeciles like that. Oh, I wasn't there, so I don't know if it happened. Oh, okay, so by your standards, every war in American history didn't happen because you, the imbecile, wasn't there. Well, guess what? Everybody was here for this phone call, and we all know you are an extremely ignorant man and probably a racist. 702-221-7283 is the number to call. Let's go to Jeff. Jeff is next. Hello, Jeff.
Hey, Brian, I ran across a great article about you.
This show is not about me, sir. It's about the topics that we are discussing on the show today. If you're going to be off topic, then I'm not interested in having a conversation with you. Do you understand?
I think your listeners...
All right. Have a nice day, idiot. 702-221-7283 is the number to call if you'd like to be a part of the conversation. If you're going to call into this show, then you are going to be on topic. If you're not going to be on topic, then go fly a kite with your MAGA flag. I could care less. Have a nice day, idiot. 702-221-7283 is the number to call. Let's go to Tyrone. Tyrone is next on PTL. Hi, Tyrone.
Hey, Brian, good afternoon. Hope all is going well with you over in Vegas. That's one of my favorite cities to visit.
Thank you.
You know, outside of the summertime, man, I can't do it. But fall and spring, I'm good in Vegas. Hey, look, you arguing with these MAGA people. They can't argue facts and data and statistics. So there's an old saying, when you have the facts, you pound the facts. When you have the law, you pound the law. When you have neither, you just pound on the table.
Or if you're Donald Trump, or if you're Donald Trump, you pound Stormy Daniels for 12 seconds. I'm sorry, that was a horrible joke. I apologize. Go ahead, sir.
12 seconds?
Yeah.
You giving them that much? I got 6.
Okay,
6
so
seconds.
so $20,000.
And 2 of those seconds.
20,000
seconds involved him taking his underwear off. So go.
20,000 per second. I'm sorry, I digress. I'm very immature. Go ahead, sir.
Right. Look, these folk, the guy that just said, "Oh, I wasn't there, so I don't know if it happened." Well, were you born? Because you wasn't there when you were born. I mean, when your parents conceived you, you weren't there. So did it actually happen? These people are so stupid.
They are
in their thinking, because they refuse to admit they have been conned. They refuse to admit it's two things. They refuse to admit that they've been conned, or they refuse to admit that they are bigots and racists.
Right.
You know, so they'll say, "Oh, no, that's not racial. Just because he wants to do away with the civil rights, or he is attacking the HBCUs, or he's doing this, or he's taking down, removing all the black soldiers from Department of Defense archives. That's not racist. That's just I don't know. That's just
It's
him
worse
cleaning
than-
up the
it's wor-
library. It's ridiculous.
It's worse than racist. It's bigotry. It's hatred. It's white nationalism.
Right.
Stephen Miller is a perfect example of that. Listen, I've said it before and I'll say it again. It's a clan cult. That's exactly what it is. And Donald Trump is the grand wizard. He is the leader. And until people start to recognize that, I don't know what else to tell people. He tells Vladimir Putin today to stop. These MAGA morons say that he's tougher on Russia than anybody else. No concessions. He was asked today, what are Russia's concessions? He said, well, ending the war, which, by the way, hasn't happened. He said it would be over in 24 hours. These people are brainwashed.
Yeah, Russia will end the war when they have all of Ukraine. The war's over. Okay, hey, Donald, I did a great job. I mean, it's ridiculous. And the thing about these folk that makes me very concerned is even when Trump goes away, when he's 6 feet under, pushing up daisies and kissing the butt crack of the devil, they will still be here, and there'll be someone else, and they'll be believing the nonsense.
Yeah.
And they seem to think that their white skin protects them. It doesn't, because the only color that's going to matter is green, and that's the money. That's it. We're all in the same
you said something very interesting, and I agree with you. And as I've said before, and I'll say it again, make America great again is make America white again. When was America great? When women couldn't vote? When was America great? When black people had to use different drinking fountains and they had to sit in the back of the bus?
Right.
You see, they won't say that out loud. But trust me, sir, when I tell you that many in Donald Trump's base are okay with slavery. Many in Donald Trump's base are okay with it. And they don't want to see more people that look like you in this country because they're afraid, because they don't want you to be the majority. They don't want to be the minority. Well, guess what? I don't care what somebody's color of their skin is. I care about their character. Okay. I care about who they are as a human being. I don't care. You know, I grew up in a city in Norwich, Connecticut. Yes, that's right. That's where I grew up. And I went to a school where it was predominantly black, and I was treated great. They treated me great. And I'll always remember that for the rest of my life. I felt like I was a part of their family. And you know, I will always stick up for minorities in this country. It's why I went to Black Lives Matter protest. And it's why I always will defend people in this country and defend for equality. And while those hundreds of thousands of idiots on Jan 6th were over there because they thought the election was stolen and they try to compare BLM protests to Jan 6th, no. There were tens of millions of people that protested across the country for BLM protests. Yes, I don't support the very few that committed heinous crimes. But the reasons why there were BLM protests around the country is because people wanted equality. The reason why hundreds of thousands of idiots were there on January 6th is because they believed the big lie that the election was stolen. It is the big fundamental difference between BLM and between January 6th. One was a farce, okay, and one was about activism and wanting equality.
Right. And hey, Brian.
Yeah,
the guy you had on yesterday, what's his name?
Enrique Tarrio. Yes, sir. He was he was convicted and charged with seditious conspiracy. He was sentenced to 22 years, and Donald Trump pardoned him.
Hey, look, I don't think we're gonna have to worry about that dude for long, because my man was chain smoking cigarettes like it was no tomorrow. I'm looking at dude. I'm like,
listen, you're right,
dude.
Sir, you're right about that. But let's keep in mind that Donald Trump eats KFC and fast food every day, and he's still ticking. So I don't know. Hey, I appreciate you calling, my friend. Thank you so much. Let's go to Terry. Terry is next up on PTL. Hey, Terry, what's going on? Where are you calling from?
I'm calling from Maryland, and Brian, thank you for the nice shout out that you gave to Maryland. We have some incredible leaders here who are trying to actually help people, especially Mr. Garcia, get out of prison. So thank you for that.
Terry, I've learned that there are a lot of wonderful people in Maryland. A lot
there
of
are
beautiful, smart, intelligent, wonderful people in Maryland. There's no question about it.
Thank you. Just a couple things. I think that Trump's treatment of Zelensky is nothing but retribution, because Zelensky would not open an investigation on Joe Biden, which also led to one of his impeachments, I believe, for him trying to do that. And lastly, if Mr. Randy, who just called in, would like a little bit of more information about Vladimir Putin, can I talk about Alexei Navalny? Apparently, he likes to poison anyone who opposes him. Many people, I believe, have died under his regime.
Yeah.
And that's the kind of person that you want to actually worship. Give me a break.
Can I ask you, because correct me here, I'm almost at a loss for words. How much of a horrible and ignorant human being can you be when I align Barack Obama with Vladimir Putin and I say, who would you rather vote for? And they can't even answer that question? How stupid of a human being and how ignorant do you have to be, no matter whether you're a Republican or a Democrat? Okay, listen, I don't like Ron DeSantis. I dislike him. I don't like J.D. Vance, okay? So many MAGA Republicans in the party. But you put up Vladimir Putin with somebody like that, as much as I dislike a J.D. Vance, I'm going to answer your question. As much as I hate J.D. Vance, I would still vote for him over an evil dictator. How stupid do you have to be where you can't even answer that question? How much hatred do you have to have in your heart for an African-American man to make a statement like that?
Yeah, that is just absolutely absurd to me. How anybody could shine a light on Vladimir Putin and say that he's a smart guy. Excuse me, how much foreign knowledge, foreign service knowledge, or foreign issue policy, things does Donald Trump know anything about? He's totally clueless about
and that's
foreign
the same
policy.
exactly, and that's the same idiot who probably voted for Donald Trump. My dear, it's so good to hear from you. Stay safe out there in Maryland, and I will continue to cover the Garcia story until that man is brought home. Go back to the YouTube super chat real quickly, if I may. I believe we have Tarika, who said, we know Trumpzilla stands for Russia. I pray to God Zelensky won't give up on his land and make deals with the devil. Trump is never to be trusted, and Zelensky knows that. Well, I completely agree with you, Tarika. You're 150% right on that. Let's get back to the phone calls, if I may, and then we'll get back to the YouTube super chat here in a little bit. 702-221-7283 is the number to call if you want to be a part of the conversation. Let's go to Kava. Kava is next up on PTL. Hi, Kava.
Hi, Brian. How are we doing today?
Hey, good. What's on your mind today, Kava?
Everything you guys have been talking about, and I've realized that the only reason Donald Trump and J.D. Vance have the power they do is because these people don't understand what human respect is. Like you said before, Donald Trump hasn't respected anybody in his entire life. J.D. Vance thinks he's some kind of god, which he's not. He doesn't even know what being human is, nor what human decency is. And we need to show them that we've all had enough. We're done playing this dirty little game of who's better than who. This isn't a game. This is human lives at stake. And like you said, Brian, enough is enough. And we're going to keep fighting back. And they're going to learn sooner or later what we really are truly about. Yeah. They are not going to keep pushing the people around anymore, because people are going to start realizing this isn't a world of Trumpism. This is a world where people want change. And it's going to come whether they like that or not.
You're damn right, Kava. Very well said, my friend. And it's always good to hear from you. And I hope you're doing well. And I appreciate you calling in, Kava. Thank you so much. 702-221-7283. We got Ray, who's been waiting very patiently on hold. Ray, what's going on, man? Where are you calling from?
Daytona area, Florida.
Oh, home of Ron DeSantis. Your boy's in a lot of trouble, Ray.
He's not my boy. He never will be.
I hear you.
It was Rick Scott.
Yeah.
And I've lived in the States since 1954. But I want to say Obama and his wife also, they're 1,000 times more intelligent than Trump and Putin put together. But that's not really what I really called for. The night before last, Jasmine Crockett was on the Jimmy Kimmel show.
Yes.
Doing an interview. I don't know if you saw it. And at the end of the interview, Jimmy looks at Jasmine and says, hey, last time I talked to you, you said Marjorie Taylor Greene was the dumbest person in the House, right? She says, yes. Mm-hmm. Jimmy looks back at her and says, is anybody dumber than her? And Crockett looks and says, no, it's still Greene. I laughed my ass off.
Yeah, you know, Jasmine Crockett is, and good to hear from you, by the way, my friend. Jasmine Crockett is certainly a rising star in the Democrat Party. I think there's a few things she could do a little bit differently if she wants to keep going in that direction. But I like Jasmine Crockett. I think she's very intelligent. She's done this show before. I think she did the show last month, and she'll come on our show again. Certainly a rising star within the Democratic Party, no question about that. Thank you to Chris on the YouTube Super Chat who said art of the deal, more like art of the meal. Trump's blood type is ragu. Melania can hear him getting fatter. Yes, I agree with you, Chris. That's actually very funny. Not much of a diet. All right, let's get back to the phone calls, if I may. 702-221-7283 is the number to call if you want to be a part of the conversation. Let's go to Dave. Dave is next up on PTL. Hi, Dave.
Hi, Brian. How are you? Thanks for having me.
Sure.
I should say having me on. I got a quick story I would like to share that I heard yesterday from a guy. He's a male nurse, and he's from New Jersey, and specifically Atlantic City. And he told me that a very specific story about an Italian family that moved to Atlantic City. And they were stonemasons, and they worked mainly with marble.
Yeah.
And they did the work on Taj Mahal. And he said that Trump sent them letter after letter. Oh, your work is amazing. And then when it came time to collecting, he bilked them, and it broke them. They had been stonemasons. They came over from Italy to chase the American dream. They had been stonemasons in their family since the 1600s.
Yeah.
I mean, way back. And they came to America, and they had to mortgage everything that they had to do this job, to do the Taj Mahal. And he bilked them. They went bankrupt. They had to move back to Italy.
Sir,
Fortunately, their family had kept the
Right.
masonry business
Yep.
together, and he said he couldn't imagine how anybody from New Jersey, he ruined the economy in New Jersey.
Oh, no, I remember that. So listen, my friend, I grew up in Connecticut. I spent time in Atlantic City, New Jersey. I have a story for you.
Yeah.
So I started playing poker. Well, I started in Connecticut because I was an avid poker player growing up, and I started playing at Foxwoods, and then I would go to Atlantic City with my friends when I was in my early 20s. So I go to the Taj Mahal, and it was a very famous poker room back in the day.
Yep.
And I went a weekend where I think it was a Monday or a Tuesday where Howard Stern did his show out there in Atlantic City, and there was like some celebrity boxing fight. I see Donald Trump walking by, and I didn't know Donald Trump from a hole in the wall, but I went to shake his hand. He looks at me, he shakes my hand, and he gives me the most evil look in the world, and it kind of creeped me out. And it was like, how dare you get in my way and shake my hand, right? That was the first time I met Donald Trump. And if you go into Playboy magazine, yes, I do read the articles. In one of those articles, he was quoted as saying, I don't want black people counting my money in my casinos. I want Jews counting my money. Now, obviously, that is a terrible thing to say, not only for black people, but obviously it's a trope when it comes to people of the Jewish faith as well. And he's always been like that. This is not a man who has ever changed. He's always been a bad guy. He's always been a bigot. He's a terrible businessman. And any buffoon out there that thinks that Donald Trump is this brilliant businessman is an idiot. They're idiots. They have no idea, whether it be Trump University or all the thousands of discrimination lawsuits with his properties, his stakes, his waters. Everything has gone down the toilet when it comes to his businesses. And the only reason why he's got a lot of money now is because he ran for president. He made billions of dollars because of that. Look at all of his properties that have filed for bankruptcy. Look at his horrible business practices. It's insane.
Yeah. Guess where all the taxpayers' money is going to every time he takes a trip to Mar-a-Lago?
Oh, yeah, you're right. We forget about
right into his business.
You're damn right. The Live Golf Tournament at his Doral Golf Course, Secret Service, all the money, the millions of dollars that have to be put up every single time he goes to one of his properties. Sir, you're 150% correct, and it's good to hear from you. Thank you for the phone call. 702-221-7283 is the number to call. Let's go to Mark. Mark is next up on PTL. What's up, Mark?
Hey, thank you, Brian.
Yeah.
It's not just this last MAGA call. It's most of these MAGA callers, I should say most of them. They twist themselves and they always defend Trump and they always have excuses. Like Enrique, right? He states that, how about you, Pam? How about you did this? You said this. You said this. And I listened to Pam and I heard her say it 5 times. That she owned up to it, and he kept reverting back to it. Claiming that he's the victim. Now,
one more thing with DeSantis. I'm not sure why everybody is saying that he is in trouble. And like that earlier caller stated, and I was going to say this too if she didn't, Rick Scott is a congressman after stealing millions of dollars for Medicaid. What makes anyone think
so Mark,
that DeSantis is going to be in trouble?
Okay, so Mark, it's a good question, and here I understand why you would say that, but here's the difference to me. There are a lot of MAGA Republicans that do not like Ron DeSantis. They already didn't like him. He hasn't gotten along with Donald Trump. There's a lot of MAGA Republicans that don't like Ron DeSantis. This just gives them another reason or excuse to hurt his political career. That's the reason why, Mark, I think that this situation might be different than a Rick Scott. Rick Scott is a Donald Trump knee pad wearing idiot. You're right. But if Ron DeSantis was a big MAGA supporter and he was pro-MAGA and all the MAGA people loved him, then I would agree with you. Ron DeSantis, there's a lot of MAGA people out there that don't like him. I think this kind of puts him over the top as far as his political career ending. Mark, you might be right. That's the way I think it's going, Mark, and I appreciate your call. All right, let's go to one of my favorite callers, of course. Let's go to Paul. Paul is next up on PTL out of California. What's up, Paul?
Oh, man, I'm in Portland today. That's why I haven't called in. I've been driving, man.
That's okay. I forgive
Anyway.
you. What's on your mind today, my friend?
Well, thank you. I agree with your caller 2 callers ago. You know, this country, this white nationalism it's a mental illness in this country, Brian. It just is. They will take, in the name of Jesus, a rapist, a felon, a guy who makes fun of disabled people, who questions the birth of a black guy, who has dinner with Nick Fuentes. It's all in the name of Jesus, Brian. Praise God. Oh, it's my religion to vote for him, but the most qualified black woman in the country's history, I don't like her cackle. She had sex with a man 40 years ago. It's absolutely morally repugnant.
It is.
And a lot of this is tied to nationalism, right? And I think part of this is you wake up when you're little, right? You're wrapped up in American flag diapers. You eat your Freedom Wheaties while you're doing the Pledge of Allegiance. You feed your pet bald eagle before you go to school, and you drive to work with 58 American flags with the Constitution because we're the greatest country in America. And when you ask them, Brian, when were we great for black people or Asian Americans or women, their brain absolutely shuts down.
Yeah.
They want their version of white America.
Oh, sure.
Because they can't imagine, like, the American flag for them means freedom because it's always defended their whiteness, but they can't even imagine, maybe that flag, just maybe, it means oppression for a black person or a woman or an Asian American or a Native American.
Paul,
they just can't imagine it.
I want to say this, Paul, with you on the line because there's somebody in one of my chats, happens to be a female, clearly a Donald Trump supporter, that said this is a TDS echo chamber. So I just want to respond to her by saying she has TFS, also known as Trump fellatio syndrome. So if anybody wants to play that stupid TDS game with me, you go ahead and do that and take off your Donald Trump knee pads and wipe your mouth because you have zero credibility. You see, what we do, people like myself, people like Paul, is we speak truth to power. We call it out. And if you want to call that a syndrome, then you're complicit. I see what's around me. You guys are part of a cult. You guys wear the Donald Trump knee pads, and it doesn't matter what damage this guy does to the country or the way he's treated women his entire life or the things he says about our brave men and women in uniform. If we call it out, you think it's TDS. So take your Trump fellatio syndrome and take a hike.
Well, you know, where people like her, and I'll let you go, she buys into the patriarchy. She's like, oh, I read one piece of scripture written by some old dead white guy in the Bible, and I'm supposed to just, do whatever my husband tells me. People like her believe that God sat on his ass during the Holocaust, during the first 2 world wars, during Hiroshima, during slavery, during the colonization of Native Americans. But God said, you know what? That rapist, that misogynist, that piece of trash, that's the guy that's the light of the world, that's spreading the love that my son went down on earth and gave his life for.
You're
that's
right,
the
Paul.
guy that I'm going to say from this board. They're absolutely sick.
You are 100% correct, Paul, and it's always good to hear from you. Oh, I forgot to add something. There's a, not really a syndrome, but a disease. Allegedly, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. said this. I don't know if it's true or not, but it's called MAGA herpes. You see, what happens is it grew on you back in 2015, and you can't get rid of it. You can't get rid of the MAGA herpes. You can try to get rid of it. Some people try to get rid of it, but they just can't get rid of it. And they think it'll help them if they buy the Trump Bibles. They think it'll help them if they buy the Trump trading cards. They think it'll help them get rid of the disease. Maybe they'll donate to the Trump administration and the Trump campaign in the past. They'll buy their Trump flags and they'll call themselves patriots. But they just can't get rid of those Trump herpes. And the problem is the herpes of Trump is spreading around this country and around the world, and it affects your brain. Trump herpes affects your brain. And it doesn't matter how much protection you wear, you're going to be surrounded in this country with people that have Trump herpes, and you have to avoid them at all costs. 702-221-7283 is the number to call. Let's go to Stan. Stan is next up on PTL. Hey, Stan, what's going on?
Hey, Brian. I have a short message to these MAGA people who supported Putin. I'm Ukrainian American, right? And those people doesn't understand. Do you guys know the MAGA? You have a nickname from the Russians. How they call you? May I say this because it's a little bit dirty?
Okay.
So the Russians give the nickname for the all American people called on the Russian language "tendo," which is mean American faggot. So every American they call
be
like
careful
that.
with your language. Be careful with your language.
Oh, I'm sorry.
We don't want to use. We don't want to use that language on the
have to
show because
translate it.
I understand,
Yeah.
but that could be perceived as something that is hurtful to those that are in the LGBTQ community. So let's try to be a little careful. But go ahead, sir.
Yeah, because Russian society are really homophobic.
Stan, can I ask you?
Can
I, Stan? And I'm so sorry for what is going on in your home country. It's horrible. I want to ask you this question, Stan. When Donald Trump today, and in the past, has called Zelensky a dictator, he said Ukraine started it, and then today, after another strike, innocent people losing their lives in Ukraine, he said, "Hey, Vladimir, stop." What would be your message to Donald Trump as someone who is from Ukraine?
I have a call today from my childhood friend from Kyiv. So the Kyiv for the last night was under the biggest bombing from the Russians. Russians kill again civilians while they're sleeping. They again kill the children as usual. So he asked me this question. So is there Russians or it's you guys? Or maybe you guys start bombing us because we didn't want to give up. And I was dead after this question. And that was the Trump did. If you will see the pattern for the past 3 months, Russians do the more and more civilian kills because when the Biden was the president, right? Every time when the Putin did such kind of terrorist attack, right, the next day the Biden or Sullivan come out and say, okay, we give more weapons for Ukraine. You're not going to get rid of it. You know, you have to pay for the Russians.
Yeah.
But the Trump just opened the door. Volodya, kill whatever Ukrainians you want. I don't care about those people.
Yeah, well, let me tell you something, my friend. My thoughts and prayers are with, I'm sure you have plenty of friends and family in Ukraine. I don't want any innocent person to lose their life on either side here. But let's be very clear. Your people and Vladimir Zelensky did not start this war. Joe Biden did not start this war. Donald Trump is an imbecile. One person started this war, and his name is Vladimir Putin. Thank you for the call, sir. 702-221-7283 is the number to call. Let's go to Simon. Simon is next up on PTL. Hey, Simon, what's going on, man?
Hey, Brian. Quick question. Do you like HIPAA?
Be a little bit more specific. What in regards to HIPAA? What I'm confused.
Well, I'll just say real quick, I like HIPAA because I like having my medical privacy.
It should be private.
You know, my medical
well, of course.
history.
If that's in
Right.
general,
Yeah.
in general, I'll answer your question. Of course, my answer would be similar to yours. Yes,
I thought you'd say that.
Unless you're in office and people are considering voting for you, or you're still in office, then I think that we should know your medical history. That's my personal opinion.
But do you think that your medical history should suddenly be at the hands of in the government's hands automatically?
No, absolutely
if
not.
You're autistic.
Absolutely not.
Well, guess what? Our old friend Brainworms is doing again.
Oh no.
Yes, the government has just approved an initiative to get medical providers, insurance companies, etc., to start handing over to the HHS lists and names of autistic patients of all ages. There's going to be some grand quote-unquote study done by a team that RFK Jr.
What a
approves.
shocker. What a shocker. This is the guy that's in charge of Health and Human Services. This is the guy that has beheaded whales. This is the guy that has staged bear murders in Central Park. This is the guy that hasn't been faithful to one woman his entire life. And maybe even more important, not saying those things aren't important, more important, this is the guy who has literally zero medical credentials. Let me repeat, zero medical credentials. Zero. And this is the guy that's telling us what to do. I mean, and again, nobody in the MAGA world. It's funny how all these people are so pro-life and they're anti-abortion, but as soon as Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is in there, they're totally okay with the fact that he's anti-abortion because he's one of Donald Trump's guys. These people are sick and they're brainwashed, and yeah, he's brain-wormed. You're right.
Hey, like I said, hey, is that the guy you want with your kid's medical history?
No.
I know I don't.
Of course not. He's a kook, my friend. And Simon, it's good to hear from you, and I appreciate your call, sir. Thank you very much. 702-221-7283, the number to call if you want to be a part of the conversation. Let's see here. Let's go to Ethan. Ethan is next up on PTL. Hey, Ethan, what's going on?
Hey, how's it going, Brian?
Good. What's on your mind, Ethan?
So, if you didn't know already, a couple hours ago, the Trump store dropped Trump 2028 hats.
I saw that. Yes, sir. In the gift shop, right in the White House. I did see that.
Yep. Yeah.
Pretty
so
sick,
I guess
huh?
my question would, pretty cool. I might have to get one. But my question would be to people who are in my life, right? I have a grandmother who's very pro-Trump, and I have some friends in my friend group who voted for Donald Trump. What would you say to them to convince them not to vote for Trump if you ran in 2028?
I would assume you were being a little sarcastic when you said you were going to buy one of those hats.
Yeah.
Okay. I just wanted to make – I get a lot of crazy calls here, Ethan. I just wanted to make sure. So the question is, what would I say to them who are okay with this Trump 2028 stuff? Was that the question? I just want to make sure I got it right.
Or just Trump in general. Like, what would you say to someone who's, between voting for Donald Trump, maybe again in 2028?
So if it was a good faith conversation, and I'm going to assume that it is, because you seem like a nice guy, even though some of your family members might be misguided, I would say, okay, what do you like about Donald Trump? Now, they might say the border, immigration, because that's their go-to. And then I would get into a discussion with what Kamala was trying to do and what the bipartisan border bill. But I would also say, do you think these tariffs are a good idea? I would go policy first. Do you think it's a good idea to deport a bunch of people that are nonviolent criminals and send them to El Salvador with no due process? Do you think it's a good idea to pardon a bunch of Jan 6th insurrectionists, some of whom beat police officers? And obviously, I would pin them in a corner. And they wouldn't be able to defend that. And I would say, okay, let's take policy aside for a moment. Besides the fact, are you okay with Donald Trump getting us $8.2 trillion in debt in his first administration? Do you think he handled COVID good? And then when we got to all that, I would say, if this is a woman, I would say, you're a female, you have kids. Let's talk about his behavior. You think bragging about sexual assault, are you okay with that? Do you think the leader of the free world should be somebody that's never been faithful to a woman his entire life? Do you think the leader of the free world should have 25 women that have accused him of sexual abuse or even worse? Is that the guy who attacks women on looks, who attacks Gold Star families, who attacks our brave men and women in uniform? That's the guy that you want to be a role model for your kids as a woman or man. That's the guy that you want to be representing you. Yes or no? And if they answer it in good faith, then I will continue the conversation. If they say, yes, none of that stuff bothers me, Ethan, then they're brainwashed and they're lost. And there's nothing we could do with them except call them very special and ignorant. There's nothing else we can do.
Awesome. All right. Well, thank you, Brian.
Thank you, Ethan. I appreciate you. 702-221-7283 is the number to call. Let's go to Ron. Ron is next up on PTL. Hey, Ron, what's up?
Good afternoon. How is that? One thing I read about these crap numbers.
We have a lot of high modulation. I don't know why, sir, but go ahead.
I'll call you back.
Okay, call me back, Ron. I'm sorry. It was really hard to hear you there. That was very strange. Maybe it was the deep state. Maybe it was George Soros. Maybe it was Barack Obama or Pete Buttigieg or Joe Biden. I don't know. I'm just taking a page from the Donald Trump playbook. If anything goes wrong, if we have any audio issues here or camera issues or any technical issues at all, we're just going to blame Joe Biden, George Soros, and Barack Obama. Or as Donald Trump would say, Barack Hussein Obama. 702-221-7283 is the number to call if you would like to be a part of the conversation. All right, let's see here. Let's go to line 5 and Tammy. Tammy is calling in next. Hey, Tammy, what's up?
Hey, Brian, how are you?
Hey, good. What's on your mind, Tammy?
Well, I got a couple of comments. I'll keep them quick. They're on different subjects,
Sure.
the one was about the autism. You had quite a few people discussing that, and I'd like to say I have a grandson who's on the spectrum, and he actually tested intellectually at the 96th percentile. So I'm sure he's probably smarter than Kennedy. But I just wanted to say that because it's, autism. I feel bad for the kids because they have social issues and all.
Absolutely. Yep.
Secondly, from your show yesterday, Pam, I was hoping maybe you would ask her, because it seemed like Enrique, his biggest problem was with her sentence being shorter than, his idiots that follow him. And I bet if you would ask her if she got 4 years, if she would have done it and, accepted it, and I bet she would say yes.
I believe she would say. I believe she would say yes as well. But I'll tell you what, we'll get Pam back on the show, and I will ask her that question for you. Sound fair?
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
Great.
And then I wanted to comment also on Hegspeth, whatever.
Pete Hegseth, the woman abuser.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, and supposedly, if his drinking problem was as bad as what we've heard about, and I'm sure there's a lot of worse things that he's done while drinking that we didn't hear about. For him to all of a sudden say, "Well, I'm going to stop drinking." I mean, my brother died from alcoholism.
Oh, I'm so sorry to hear that.
And without a 12-step program or something like that, I'm sorry, but I don't think. I mean, I'd like to give him the benefit of the doubt.
I won't give him the benefit of the doubt. I thought he was drunk on Easter Sunday. Did you see the interviews he did there? If he wasn't drunk, he was certainly on something. And why on earth, after this whole Signal chat scandal, you would put your wife and your brother in another Signal chat? You telling me he wasn't drunk? Let me be clear. We only have two people in this country that have the nuclear codes. One of them is the orange orangutan draft dodger, and the other one is the woman abusing Pete Hegseth. Forgive me for saying, if you're going to be the Secretary of Defense, I don't want somebody with a drinking problem. I don't want somebody that was some weekend Fox News anchor, and I certainly don't want somebody who has a mother who once called you a woman abuser. Thank you for the call, my dear. I appreciate you. 702-221-7283. Let's go to Brian because I really like the name. Hey, Brian, what's up? Where are you calling from?
Is this me?
Yes, sir. Go right ahead.
Hey, what's up? I'm calling from the Bay Area. Hey, first of all, Paul is on point today. He says everything that I want to say, but I kind of want to switch gears. I just want to know your opinion, actual opinion. What do you think about Mark Kelly and say maybe Cory Booker running for 2028? Now, hear me out. Mark Kelly is a national hero. He has a wife who is a national hero. Cory Booker is very inspirational, and I just think that, maybe we should back somebody like him.
Okay, that's a really good question. Here's the way I would answer it. Mark Kelly is a hero. You're right. He's a very decorated man. I also have a lot of respect for Booker. Listen, I would vote for them. I would vote for a ham sandwich over any MAGA Republican, and I have a lot of, so let me just start by saying that. I would rather see a Josh Shapiro, and here's why I say that. Josh Shapiro has been in politics longer. He won the governorship. I believe you. And this is nothing against Mark Kelly, okay? Mark Kelly is a great man, and he also has been in politics, and he also is a good public speaker. I'd be okay with that.
Yes.
I just think Josh Shapiro's a little bit better. Nothing against Mark Kelly and his beautiful wife. I have so much respect for them. They're wonderful people, okay? But it wouldn't be my number one pick, but I'm also telling you that if push came to shove, I'd be okay with that because he's a war hero and he's a decent man. He's very intelligent. And Booker, I've been very impressed with him, especially recently. So I'm not saying it would be a bad ticket, right? I'm not saying it'd be a bad ticket. I'd be all for it.
Right.
I just think maybe the Democrats could do a little bit better. All due respect to them, maybe a little bit better.
I'm also open to like a woman vice president again, like Warren or even AOC.
Okay, I'm totally okay. I'm totally with you on that. I would love to see a woman be a president of the United States one day. I don't think this.
Me too.
I'm
That
ready.
is my position.
I'm ready for it.
Before I die.
Me too. I'm ready for it. You're ready for it. Sadly, a lot of people that didn't vote for Kamala Harris were not ready for it. So I think the Democrats need to understand that.
That's how I need to retort, on Josh Shapiro.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, we live in a very racist country, and I'm sick of it. I'm literally crying right now.
Well, listen, my friend. I'm with you.
I mean, Shapiro's great, man.
Can I give you a ticket?
Shapiro is great.
Can I give you a ticket? Josh Shapiro and AOC. What do you think?
I mean, that's good. That's good. Or Mark Kelly. I mean, I think we need a hero, not to go back to the 80s, but I need a hero,
I don't have a problem with that. And as you know, my friend, Donald Trump is the opposite of that. He's a coward. Listen, I feel you. These are very emotional times. I hear you. These are very emotional times that we are living in. We need to get through this together, whether it's you guys on PTL Nation. I love you guys as a country.
Yeah. I just got emotional because we live in such a racist world. It's like, I voted for Kamala. I voted for Hillary too, because she was the most qualified person we've ever seen. I mean, I honestly believe that. But we live in a racist world, and I just can't get over it.
So you're right.
Let's get smart and vote for a man this time, because we might actually win.
I agree.
I don't know.
I agree. No, I listen. I'm with you, but listen, I'm with you. I'm on your side. But here's what I will say to you. We always had a lot of racist people in this country and bigots. They were always here, but Donald Trump gave them a platform to be comfortable in their bigotry. That's exactly where we are at as a country right now. I feel your emotion and your pain and where this country's going, sir, but we got to turn the tide. It starts in 2026 with the midterms, and then, of course, in 2028. What I can tell you is that in just about every poll out there, the first 3 months of the Trump administration, Trump has some of the worst approval rating numbers in history of this country. Maybe some people are starting to wake up, and those that are not can go fly a kite, because they're a bunch of MAGA inbred imbeciles. 702-221-7283 is the number to call if you want to be a part of the program. Let's go to Denise. Denise is next up on PTL. Hey, Denise, what's going on, man?
Hi there. How are you?
Good. What's on your mind?
Good. Let's go back to stop, Vlad, stop. Okay, let's face it. That's what a rapee says to a rapist. That's where he got that line. So he's heard that line 1,000 times from every woman that he chose to rape.
Mm-hmm.
Remember, he didn't ask us, "Oh, can I get in your panties, boyfriend or girlfriend?" No, he just took what he wants. He always takes what he wants.
Yep.
Why is Elon Musk someone who is not a member of Congress or a member? First off, he's not even an American citizen.
Mm-hmm.
How the hell is he looking at my money?
Well, I'll tell you how, because he donated almost $500 million to the Donald Trump campaign. They have no respect for the rule of law. Donald Trump doesn't care.
Exactly.
He only does what's good for himself. And unfortunately, I have some breaking news to share with you, because this is a story that I've covered here in Las Vegas, and it's now a national story if you're unaware. So President Trump we've just learned, has pardoned former Las Vegas City Councilman Michelle Fiore. Michelle Fiore stole money from her constituents. We're supposed to be money that was put towards a statue honoring an officer, and she used it to pay for some sort of liposuction or some sort of cosmetics, and for her daughter's wedding. She was convicted in a court of law. She is a despicable pig as far as I'm concerned. And I said it to her face in a town council meeting in Pahrump, Nevada. I have the video to prove it, and I warned them not to put her in as a magistrate judge. And now Donald Trump has pardoned her. Why? Because she wears the Donald Trump knee patch. She is a despicable pig, and she can go to hell. And Donald Trump has pardoned her. It is absolutely and positively disgusting.
Yes. The whole administration is disgusting.
Yeah.
It's not just, there's not one of them that is qualified. You have the sofa, the sofa king that wants to buff everybody's sofa. You've got the drunk. You've got the orange buffoon from hell.
And just to give you an example of how horrible this woman, Michelle Fiore, is, there's a local reporter from Channel 8 who reported on this story that she was pardoned. Michelle Fiore texted her as a response, "You need to get on your knees a little more, girl." This is who Donald Trump pardoned.
That didn't faze her because Donald's going to pardon me. If I do any bad stuff, he's going to pardon me.
Yeah.
Really?
Well,
really?
these are the types
When
of...
I grow up,
Yeah, well, listen.
when I grow up, I'm going to be president.
Well, you know what? I'll tell you something. These are the people who Donald Trump pardons. If you beat police officers on Jan 6th, or if you steal money from your constituents. By the way, the governor of Nevada, who, by the way, is a MAGA idiot, his name is Joe Lombardo. She stole money from him. But do you think Joe Lombardo will make a public statement and say, I don't agree with this pardon? No. He'll attack peaceful protesters that are anti-Trump. He has no problem doing that. Where's the governor of the state of Nevada? You donated money to Michelle Fiore, you MAGA idiot. You donated money to her. You testified in her trial. Will you disavow Donald Trump's pardon of Michelle Fiore, a woman who stole from you? No, he won't, because he's a MAGA coward. That's why. That's right, Governor Joe Lombardo. You're a MAGA coward and a piece of garbage is what you are, and you have no backbone. You're a coward. 702-221-7283, the number to call. Let's go to John. John is next up on PTL. What's up, John?
Hey, how you doing, Brian? You and I have talked several times before on TikTok Lives, and I've called the show before. So I just wanted to bring up last September or August, Trump, got in front of the cameras and said that he had irrefutable proof that the election was stolen. Do you remember that?
I do. Yep.
And he said he was going to have it all released by Monday. And then Monday rolled around and nothing happened. And then, like, on a Wednesday of that same week, he said, my lawyers told me it wouldn't be a good idea if I released all this information, because he was in several trials at the time,
Yeah.
So this is a message to maggots. He's been in office for 3 months now. He's had every opportunity to show you guys the proof, the irrefutable proof. Where is it? How come you don't demand the proof from Trump that the election was stolen? That's what I want to know.
Well, he's the only president in American history who has not conceded a presidential election. Just like he said that health care plan and that replacement plan for Obamacare was coming in a couple weeks, then it was a month, then it was a couple weeks. That never happened. The only go-to people when it came to election integrity, these idiots like Mike Lindell, the MyPillow moron, and Dinesh D'Souza with 2,000 Mules or 2,000 Lies, whatever the hell that documentary was called. Again, the breaking news, Michelle Fiore, a local and national story, who literally stole money from her constituents, found guilty in a court of law for fraud. Our own governor donated to her because she said she was going to allocate these funds to have a statue of a fallen officer, and instead she used the money for her own cosmetics and to pay for her daughter's wedding. It was proven in a court of law, and Donald Trump decided to pardon her. Well, I have Michelle Fiore's cell phone number. I'll be sending her a call, and I'm sure she's a coward and she won't do this show, but I'd love to hear her defend herself. These MAGA turds are all the same. Michelle Fiore is disgusting and despicable inside and out. Let's go to Jeremy. Jeremy is next up on PTL. Hey, Jeremy, what's going on, man?
Hey, Brian, how you doing?
Hey, good.
Yeah, so I don't know if you heard this today. I just want your opinion on something. So Trump apparently is thinking about signing a memorandum targeting Act Blue because some idiot over in MAGA country thinks that it could be exploited by foreign actors. While at the same time, Trump is offering a dinner to people who invest in his meme coin and pay him lots of money.
Yep.
Which also makes it open to foreign actors, but we're ignoring that. So, we can ignore the hypocrisy aside. How many Republicans do you think aren't going to hear about this one or are going to pretend again that, I don't know what's going on. That's his business.
They're going to do what they always do. They're going to deflect, they're going to deny, and they will always Ray, hi to the king, King Orange Orangutan. This is what they always do. They defend the indefensible. They go on these national networks, whether it be a CNN or a Fox News or wherever, and they curl themselves into a pretzel, and they don't answer questions directly. This is the same. Donald Trump has hijacked the Republican Party, and these cowards continue to do and say whatever Donald Trump tells them to do or say. It's the entire Republican Party for the most part today.
Yeah, this is where Lisa Murkowski was right the other day when she's like, I'm afraid. The only question is, or not the only question, the only thing about it is she's the only one who's got the cojones to admit that, he's created this culture of fear, that those who aren't in his cult and haven't bowed down to him are too afraid because of the cult itself.
Yeah, that's a really good point, my friend, and I appreciate your phone call. Thank you very much. 702-221-7283 is the number to call if you want to be a part of the conversation. Let's go to Pam. Pam is next up on PTL. Hi, Pam. What's going on?
Hi, Brian. I haven't heard you mention this yet, but I didn't know whether you knew about what was going on in Arkansas with Governor Sarah Huckabee and how she asked for...
Sarah Suckabee.
Pardon me?
Sarah Suckabee.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Actually, yeah, absolutely. Her father as well.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway, last month they had like 14 tornadoes hit the state. It caused hundreds of millions of dollars worth of damage. So, of course, Sarah called up her buddy, Trump, and asked him for some aid. And he said, nope, you guys didn't have enough damage. And Tom Cotton called, and also Bozeman. He won't help them. No empathy, no help. Just like, I'm sorry, I don't need your help anymore, so I'm not going to help you.
You're absolutely right. And I did hear about that, but can you imagine if there's a hurricane in any of these MAGA states, red states, there's a hurricane and they need help from FEMA? And can you imagine the disaster, what would happen? Joe Biden did everything he could during those disasters. And I remember back in the day, Chris Christie, do you remember the handshake he gave Barack Obama?
Yes, I do. It cost him his governorship, I think, didn't it?
It did, but Obama did everything he could to help. And that's the fundamental difference between MAGA Republicans and Democrats in general. Democrats don't want MAGA Republicans to suffer. They want them to have the health care. They want them to have everything they can to help them during a natural disaster. But MAGA Republicans want liberals to suffer. And what they don't seem to grasp or even care about is that they're hurting their own people, their own MAGA supporters. But they don't seem to care because they only seem to care about themselves. Thank you for the call, dear. I appreciate you. Let's go to David. David is next up on PTL, calling out of California. Hey, David, what's going on?
Hey, how you doing? Never
Good.
thought you'd get back to me, but thanks for taking my call.
Sure.
All right, so I'm going to educate people here that nobody has brought it up. Maybe you have, but I'm sure you have. First thing, thanks to Randy Rhodes, she retired yesterday. Okay, you probably know who she is. She's a Democrat.
Mm-hmm.
She has her own show.
Mm-hmm.
So, second of all, you heard of Karl Rove, right?
Of course.
Of course, everybody has.
Yep.
He worked for Donald Trump.
Correct.
He worked for him.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Okay. All right, everybody, get ready. When people say that the election was stolen, he admitted it on Bill Maher. He admitted it on CNN. He admitted it on several others on MSNBC. And if you want to Google it, put Karl Rove.
I'm aware of that. According to Bill Maher, Donald Trump admitted it to him a few weeks ago when they had their dinner that he lost. So, I mean, I think, listen, here's my opinion.
He admitted it that he lost.
Here's my opinion. You tell me if you disagree. I think as far as Republicans that are in office or those that have worked in his administration, 95% of them, maybe even higher, know that Donald Trump lost. They know.
Right.
So
what about the senator?
Yeah.
What about the senator, the one that such a sleeper, the senator of Chicago?
Yeah.
The one that impeached Trump. Remember him?
Yeah, I do.
The good-looking guy. What do you want to call it that?
Yep.
But he admitted it, saying that he goes, the election wasn't stolen. I don't know where he's getting.
And here's the you're right. And here's the bottom line. Donald Trump knows he lost. He knew he lost on day one. He did this, and he got so many suckers in this country to believe that he won because he has an ego and he can't admit he loses anything. And then all of his cult followers believed him because they're very stupid. Let's not get in the weeds here, ladies and gentlemen. If you actually truly believe that Donald Trump won the 2020 election, then you're an extremely stupid person, and I don't want to talk to you because, quite frankly, you're not worth a minute of my time, not even seconds, not even the amount of time Donald Trump lasted with Stormy Daniels, and that's like maybe 11 or 12 seconds. All right, let's go to Phil. Phil is next up on PTL. Hey, Phil, what's going on?
Hey, how you doing, Brian?
Good.
Hey, I just made an observation, and I wonder if you've noticed the same thing. I noticed that a lot of people in the cabinet and a lot of the Republican senators and legislators are wearing crosses.
Well,
has the cross replaced the swastika?
Well, it's interesting. It's interesting you bring that up because a lot of the disgraceful human beings that are fake Christians, yes, I'm going to call Caroline the liar Levette, Laura Ingraham, what they do is this. They defend bigotry, they defend hatred, they defend attacks on our Constitution, and they lie every day. But you see, they hide behind their religion. It's like the people in society that defend their bigotry, like they're against gay marriage, they attack the LGBTQ community, and then they say, well, that's not what my religion tells me to do. So what they do is they put on that fake cross, and that makes them feel better about themselves and say, I'm a person of Christ. No, you're not. You're a person of bigotry. You're a person of embarrassment. That's what you are. Your religion is hatred. So just own it. That's what they do with their cross, my friend. I got to get to some other callers. I really, sorry, I got to run, my friend, because I want to get to as many calls as I can in a short period of time here. I have to go to the MAGA Destroyer. It's always nice to hear from Darlene. Hey, Darlene, what's going on?
Hey, Brian. Brian, you do know what today is, don't you?
What's up?
Today is National Mega Idiot Day. And I noticed that you had a couple of them called in. To the two guys that called in to Brian, and one of them likes Putin better, you are a sick idiot. And I'm telling you, there's no hope for people like you. I don't understand these Republican idiots.
When you say that you wouldn't you would consider voting for Vladimir Putin over somebody like Barack Obama, you're either an idiot, uneducated fool, or a racist, or both. I really don't know what else there is to say about some of these people other than that, Darlene.
They're idiots.
Well, I'm glad you're not one of those, Darlene. You are.
I can be sometimes.
Well, you know what, Darlene? Not in my book. You're great. You're one of my favorite callers, and I appreciate your call. Thank you so much, Darlene. You're the best. Julie's next up on PTL. What's up, Julie?
Hello, following after Darlene is amazing. And I love her to death in the comments. I tell her she's my friend, which she is in my book. Let's see here. Yesterday, I couldn't call him because of work, but Enrique, he was smoking a cigarette. He had his glasses on. Only thing I could think of was that he was too scared to face the truth. Yeah. And he was smoking a cigarette because he couldn't handle the truth anymore.
Yeah. Well, you know what? I don't think he was very happy with me, but I could only sit here and be honest. And, the leader of the Proud Boys, and I called him and his group what they are. They are a hate group. He didn't like that. I said they were a bunch of idiots, like the ones that picket outside of drag queen reading, and he didn't like that either. Too bad. That is what that group stands for, and let's remember and let's not forget, and we can't normalize the fact that Donald Trump told them to stand back and stand by. Because Donald Trump, that's his base, ladies and gentlemen. That's his base. He told those people to stand back and stand by. I'm sorry, my dear, I got to cut this call short because I got to get to one more call, and then we're wrapping it up. Are we wrapping it up? Okay. Let's go to the YouTube Super Chat, if I may, because I missed a few of those YouTube Super Chats, and my producer always stays on top of that. So I want to go to the YouTube Super Chat, if I may. Michael, thank you for your donation. Michael is from Toronto, Canada. He says, keep up the great work. I believe part of Trump's love for Putin is he wants a precedent set for when he tries to invade us in Canada and Greenland. Hashtag elbows up. Thank you, my friend. Petty Confetti says, not religious, a demon saved the sweet potato turd, not God, not Jesus. I like to think there is a higher power looking over my shoulder. I believe that's what that said. Pete Buttigieg is my choice for president. Well, Lisa, in my book, Pete Buttigieg, there's the rest of that other statement, by the way. And Amelia says, thanks to all those from overseas who call into this show. I will donate each time someone calls in from wherever overseas. Well, Amelia, that's really nice of you. And I greatly appreciate you saying that. That's very sweet of you, my dear. Thank you so much. So We're going to have some special guests on the show tomorrow. I think we have a couple guests that I just need to confirm. All in. Also, Alan, working 16 hours today and another 16 tomorrow at a manufacturing job. Why? Because we can't hire enough people for these jobs now. Well, I'm really sorry to hear that. We could thank the orange orangutan for that one. So, listen, I love all you guys on the TikTok. Thanks to Yumby for doing a great job moderating, of course. And on the YouTube Super Chat, I love all you guys very much. We need one more YouTube Super Chat to reach our goal. So if somebody could do that, we would appreciate it. Also, go to my website. My website is pushingthelimits.live. Again, if you go to pushingthelimits.live, you can buy T-shirts, hats, beanies. Not a Tim Pool hat, by the way. We don't sell any of those. $5, $10, $20 a month, whatever you can afford to donate on a monthly basis. We appreciate it because we're an independently owned radio show. This is not... this is a privately owned show. So to keep the lights on, we rely on good people like you. And man, we've developed quite a community here of loyal listeners and supporters, and it's ever so growing. We're approaching 93,000 subs on YouTube, which I can't thank you guys enough. Thank you, Humorous, who says the Bible said you will all have planks in your eyes and done in your ears. I'll leave that one alone, but I appreciate your support, and I appreciate all of you so much. All right, we got a great show lined up for you tomorrow, and we are going to cover this breaking story of Michelle Fiore, the despicable pig who Donald Trump has pardoned. We'll get some commentary on that as well. Thanks for joining us, everybody. Have a great day.
Hey, everybody. Are you struggling to find a pizza place that reminds you of Brooklyn? That true blue New York style pie? Well, worry no more. Stallone's Italian Eatery Pizza is a knockout. We're located at 467 East Silverado Ranch Boulevard, just off of Premium Road, half a mile east of South Point Casino, just minutes from the Las Vegas Strip.